guys, welcome to Podcast Fandom, the official podcast for ProjectFandom.com. I'm your host, Nina.
I'm Ellen.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are back! First of all, when's the last time the three of us... Because, Sarah, you didn't get on the Mayor of Easttown podcast, did you?
Yeah.
No. It was the American Horror Story when the witches came back.
Oh, for fuck's sake, that was forever ago.
Yeah, according to my Skype records, because there aren't that many, because I'm hardly ever on.
Right. I know you only use it for podcasting with me, probably.
October 2018.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
You know what's crazy, though? Like, everything, I don't know about you guys, but everything in my life is like post-COVID. Like,
yeah.
Yes.
And I really feel like a lot of like 2019 is kind of a blur because 2020 had so much of our focus, right? Like we could all say like around February, March, the world ended, right?
Yes.
So when I hear things from like 2018, like the other day I was reading something and I think her name is Laura Harrier. She was in the first Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. She was in the Black Klansman, I think. A black actress, and what's his name? Justin Theroux from The Leftovers. Apparently they were dating for like a hot minute. And I didn't know that. And I came across something about it and like these photos of them. And it was like from the end of 2018. And I was like, that was 20 years ago. Like,
God.
Like, what? But it's not, it wasn't that long ago, but it was that long ago,
Mm-hmm.
It was a whole other world.
So you said 2018. It feels like it's been longer than that. Like 2018 doesn't feel like it was that long ago. My point is, I've missed you guys.
Aw, missed you.
And so I should probably announce what we're going to be talking about. We are going to be covering The Staircase on HBO Max. Not to be confused with The Staircase that's on Netflix. Same story, different vibe, kind of. So we're covering the live action. This is a drama limited series based off of a true story, and it is most modeled after, it seems, the documentary that covered this true story of novelist Michael Peterson. Back in 2001 was accused of killing his wife Kathleen Peterson by bludgeoning her to death. Her body was found at the bottom of the stairs in their home, and he says that she fell and that it was an accident. And so the documentary that's on Netflix covers the crime, the trial, things that were uncovered during that and after. And this show, again, seems to be, I believe, one of the documentarians. I don't know both of their names, but I believe the one that's portrayed in these episodes, the black guy, I think his name is John Xavier? John something. He's listed as one of the producers of this show. Yeah. And so, and then, I mean, I guess you guys have seen it, right? Like, the style of it, even though it is a drama series, a fictional drama based on a true story, it is very much at times shot like a documentary. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And because HBO Max dropped the first 3 episodes, those are what we're going to be talking about. It's a lot of twists and turns. And all 3 of us are probably way too intimately familiar with this story. Right? Like, yeah. Because we watched the documentary. I feel like you and I were going to podcast it, or did we podcast it?
I think you, me, and Donnie actually did one episode. But
okay.
We never finished it.
Okay.
Does that sound right?
It might be. I feel like there was this, and I know we did what was the other one? The
Making a Murderer.
Yeah. That shit.
Mantuan County.
That's right. So that's what we're going to be covering. This is on our free show. It will be up on Patreon a couple of days before it hits free for the Patreon subscribers, but it is one of the first free shows that we're doing as we're starting to cover more stuff that's not on Patreon. At the end of this podcast, I'll tell you some other titles that we're going to be covering that you can look out for. But let's get right into this because it's a lot. It is 3 episodes. And if you are watching this show and you don't know anything about this case, in a sense, you're going to be spoiled because we are going to talk about things that we know. But I will say this. We talked about this before we went live. These 3 episodes covered a lot. So
Yeah.
it was a lot. There's still a lot to come, but I feel like it covered the main stuff, if that makes sense. Like, there was stuff that I was like, I don't know if we're going to be able to talk about because I didn't want to spoil people who don't know the story and they're just watching this like it's like, you know, like you would watch Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones, right? But they touched on everything. They touched on the blowpoke, the fact that he's gay or bisexual. The first woman in Germany at the bottom of the stairs. So I feel like for the most part it's fine. But again, we do know how all of this ended up. And so we may say things that may spoil you, I guess. But I mean, it can't be avoided. So, okay, let's give our overall thoughts before we dive into talking about like the actual details of these episodes. Sarah, you've been super quiet.
I was so impressed. The cast is just dead on, you know, like
Right?
everybody is so well cast. It's so delightful to see all these great actors in one place, you know, and it was so intense. Like, I'm used to watching a bunch of, you know, fluff these days where I can just kind of like have it on in the background and I'm doing
Right.
other things and, you know, floating along. And I was completely consumed. I'm not used to this degree of concentration. And of course, every little detail is so important.
The
And I
notes,
just,
you
yes,
guys.
I just
The
thought that it
timelines.
was so well done. I was
Yes.
really impressed with this.
You know what it reminded me of? And it was like me when I was like taking my notes, because I'm going to go over how we're going to cover this in a second. But I'll take screenshots and put it in the group. Ladies, it's color coded. My notes are color coded
Yeah.
because there's so much going on. But like as I was like writing down some stuff and I had a question, I was like, oh, I got to remember to ask them this on the podcast. I thought about the way this has been constructed, and I was like, this feels like it almost had to be somewhat easy to make because it is so close to the documentary, if that makes sense. Like, I think that's one thing they did really well with the documentary is like kind of present it and layer it like a drama. And it was fortunate for them, right? Because they're covering something from the beginning. Like, they thought they were going to get one story, right? And then it was, wait, he's gay? Oh, wait, there's another woman in Germany? Like, you know? So they kind of, I quote unquote lucked out, I guess. But I was like, yeah, the person who had to like go through and figure out how to reveal what they revealed when they did it. Does that make sense? Like how we got the, you know, I was like, this must have been a lot of fun to do. And having all of the notes and the stuff that had been documented with the documentary must have made it so much easier. Oh, go ahead, Ellen. What did you think?
I think my favorite part is definitely the casting and the performances. Like, I'm just, you know, at first when I heard it was Colin Firth, I like him a lot, but I was just like, oh, I didn't really see him as Michael Peterson. But then as soon as he opened his mouth, I was like, holy shit, he's like dead on.
Oh my God, yes, yes.
And I love Parker Posey in this. It's not like the biggest role, but she kills every scene. Toni Collette, I love her. So I don't know, it's really good in that sense. I do have like, I don't know if like as I get older I'm just more like sensitive, but I think there's a couple of things that were like a little too graphic for me.
Listen, I walked the fuck out of the room the other day watching a show. Kaylee and I are covering for Premium this K-drama called My Name, and it's really good. But there was a scene of one group of guys kind of ambushing and attacking another group of guys. And again, it's a K-drama, and it's not like Korea doesn't have like a gun culture, you know? So this was an attack of just like guys in a gym with no weapons being attacked by guys with knives and bats. I had to walk out. I was like, I can't, because it was so graphic and so, yeah, it was a lot. And so I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's like, because I joke that I'm getting old, so I'm getting soft, but I don't know. I just think the world kind of sucks, you know? Like, so when the world sucks, maybe you don't want but so much misery in your entertainment.
Yeah. I don't like to, and there was like the autopsy scene, and like you see that she's naked, and it's like, you know what? We know that someone's naked in an autopsy. We don't have to see their boob. Just stuff
so
like
many
that.
times.
But I mean, like that didn't take away from me getting really into it and enjoying it, like the other aspects of it, though. But I did have a few surprising to me moments of like, oh my god, that's like,
you're like, what is wrong with me? Like, why can't? I feel you.
Yeah. No, but I think it's great.
I really liked it. I'm gonna be honest. I was more excited to cover this to hang out with you guys. I was like, at least I know once a week I get to like talk to my friends that I don't get to talk to all the time. I know we're gonna laugh. And so like, honestly, that was, and like, because we had seen the documentary already and I knew the story, like I wasn't expecting like to be even really entertained. Does that make sense? Like, I really thought we're just probably going to spend a lot of time just talking about the case, which I'm sure we will. But like, I wasn't really thinking of it of like a show, like the way I'm looking forward to like House of the Dragon or, you know, Obi-Wan Kenobi. But I found myself really into it. And again, like Sarah said, it's not something that I could do and like do other stuff like I'm so used to. So I really had to pay attention, but I didn't mind because I think, like you guys already said, it's so good in terms of the acting, the pacing, the way they're choosing to tell me things I already know in a way that it's super interesting. I will say one thing, this is just like me personal kind of pet peeve, and I don't know if it's like a writer thing or just a Nina thing, but when I'm watching stuff like this that I know is based on a true story, I do find myself wondering the things that no one could possibly know. Where did that come from? And why is it included? And in particular, when it's something like, you know, a person, the death of someone, you know, who really existed. Like, so Kathleen Peterson was a real person. And so when they were focusing on her alone, you know, I'm like, how do we know that that's how she felt and that's what she did? Where is that coming from? And so that's when I was like, I'm real curious to see who is behind this in terms of her family, his family, or is it just straight up the documentarians? Like, they're just using what they have. And so how can we trust, like, the stuff with the massage that he got for her, or her, you know, hearing the bats and the attic, like, So it's kind of like, okay, well, they have all this footage of, you know, interviews and stuff with the family, you know, and I know that there's one thing that I'm not going to bring up. Well, fuck it, I will. The owl thing, which the only way I know that they're foreshadowing is just like, I don't know if about you guys, but I watch with closed caption on at one point. The scene where she comes home and she's, when he surprises her with the massage. And she's like, she looks in the car in the driveway and all that. And the sound, she looks up at the sky and it says owl hooting. And I was like, oh, here we go. Foreshadow. But
here it is.
But like, yeah, it's like stuff like that. I'm like, okay, well, maybe, you know, I couldn't remember specifically how the owl theory got introduced. So I was like, oh, maybe there was some talk, like, you know, weeks leading up to her death about maybe she was hearing like owls in the attic or something. So I forgave that. Like, I'm like, that is like them just being creative, because after all, it is still an HBO TV show. But I did find myself wondering, like, the way episode 3 begins, Martha and her girlfriend, where'd that come from?
Oh yeah.
Like, I appreciate the representation. I mean, I was here for it. I was like, oh, this is gay. This is gay and black. I love it. Okay. But, like, is this real? Like, I feel like, to me, that matters, I guess. Because, like, why? When you're telling me a true story and you're going to embellish stuff, like, I'm curious to know why you chose to embellish what you did. And does it serve the story? So I'm just curious, like, I don't know. Is Martha gay?
I'll look her up in the directory.
In the gay directory?
Yeah.
See, because I only have
Can't
access
just
to
reach
the...
out in the force.
Martha!
I'm on the bi channel, so I don't have access. I don't know if she's fully gay. I can't. Yeah, I don't have access.
I'm trying to. It's so funny because as I was watching this, there were things from the documentary that I just forgot I remembered until I saw it played out on HBO, and I kind of vaguely remember one of the daughters being a lesbian.
Okay.
But again, it's vague, and I could be wrong, and it could just be wishful thinking because I always think there's a lesbian somewhere.
Right.
In the mix,
I get you. So listen, we're gonna start by doing a say really quickly that wait, no, what was I gonna say? You said something. The daughter is a lesbian, so I can't. Okay, fuck it. It'll come to me later. I'm gonna say the names of the episodes, and then I'm gonna give just a name history of like who the people are, like the real life people, and then the cast, and then we'll start talking about it. Okay. So episode 1 is really weird. On HBO, it's called 9/11 or 911, right? The digits 911. But then on IMDb, it's called Death on a Staircase. Episode 2, yeah, I know it's weird. Episode 2 is called Chiroptera. Chiroptera. I meant to look this up. Sarah, what is this? I knew you would know.
It's from bats, right?
Right.
Oh, look at you smart asses. Okay. So wait, what is it exactly? Is it a disease? Is it a type of bat? What is it?
It's the order of animals that bats belong to.
Ah. I like that. Okay. Look at there. I love learning shit. Okay. And then and you guys probably hear my puppy out in the other room, like, going the fuck off. He sits in the window, he looks outside, talks shit. So and episode 3 is The Great Dissembler, and we know who that is. We see it happening in the episode. Okay, so again, like I said, the story is about Michael Peterson being accused of murdering his wife Kathleen Peterson. So some background information, the children that they have, because there's it feels like there's more than there actually is. It's like only 5. Like, I looked up on Wiki, it said 5. I was like, really?
Right. It feels like there's like 8.
Yes, exactly. That's the number that was right. It just feels like 8, right? Okay. So with his first wife, whose name is Patty, I believe, Michael Peterson had 2 sons, Clayton and Todd. And then he left Patty for his second wife, Kathleen. Oh, excuse me. Before he left her, they adopted 2 girls, Martha and Margaret. Martha and Margaret were the biological daughters of their close friends, both passed away. And so they became the guardians of these 2 little girls. And then he left Patty, and I think she had primary custody. Patty had primary custody of Clayton and Todd, the 2 boys, right? While Martha and Margaret went to live with him and Kathleen. Mm-hmm. And I think he moved in with Kathleen in like 89, and they got married in 97. So they were together, like a blended family, for a while. She had a daughter from her first marriage, and her daughter's name is Caitlin. So it sounds like Michael and Kathleen lived together with primarily their 3 daughters, Martha and Margaret, his with Patty, and then Caitlin, hers with her ex-husband Jack, and then I'm guessing Clayton and Todd, because he shared custody with Patty, and I don't think she always lived in the country. But but that's the family unit. So the cast playing these people: Kathleen Peterson is played by Toni Collette, love her. Margaret's played by Sophie Turner, probably best known from Game of Thrones. Michael Peterson played by Colin Firth, who. He's one of those, like, I mean, I still don't get it, but, like, I've never got it. Like, he never did anything for me. You, Sarah? Because I know he's, like, a thing.
Oh, yes. I mean, he definitely does it for me.
Really? So is
Not,
it the,
I
is
mean,
it
at this stage, obviously not as Michael Peterson.
he's tapping into all these horrible qualities to play this man, I tell you. But was it what was it? Pride and Prejudice
Pride,
or
Prejudice, yeah.
was that the it thing that really?
Yep, that
Yeah,
was the thing.
that was the thing. Okay, so Martha, the youngest of the two adopted daughters, is played by Odessa Young. Then we have Clayton. He's played by Dan DeHaan or DeHane. Not sure how to say that. Todd is played by Patrick Schwarzenegger. And this is Schwarzenegger's son with Maria Shriver, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Caitlin is played by Olivia DeJong. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. Bill is... I'm giggling because the casting is so fucking good. Bill is Michael's brother, played by Tim Gwenny. God. And then finally we have the law team. So we have Jim Harden. He's the DA at the time. He's played by Cullen Moss. Freda Black, played by Parker Posey. You guys, I'd forgotten this woman. Like, I'd forgotten this part of the documentary.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time she's on screen and she starts talking, like, I was like, holy shit, that's the DA lady. Like,
Yeah.
It just jumps out of the past into present frame.
And then, so, like, earlier, like, right before, like, I just finished episode 3. And Kaylee was leaving the room to go take Nico out. And... what was it, the scene? It was like a scene, she made a face. And I was like, oh, when the jury is being brought in. So right as the episode ends, the camera pans to her and she makes a face sitting there at the table in the courtroom. And I was like, oh my God, I paused it. And I said, Kaylee, look at that face. She watched the scene again. And then I just Googled Freda Black. Because I had Googled her earlier because I knew she had recently passed away and I wanted to get the details. And I Googled her, and, like, her Google image page came up, and I just showed it to Kaylee, and she just busted out laughing. She was like, oh, my God.
Did she look like 80 years old, and she was only, like, 60 or something?
Oh, my God. She died at 57.
Oh, shit.
And I know.
That's rough.
That's rough because, like, I was thinking, like, I mean, I don't think she looked in her 50s back in the documentary footage, but, I mean, she looked like she was, like, up there. Definitely, like, late 30s.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. She had a rough life, and we'll talk about that. And then finally, David Rudolph, who becomes Michael's lead attorney, is played by Michael Stolberg. Interestingly enough, this casting, he looks just like this fucking man. That beard and the salt and pepper in his beard. So when Donnie and I were watching the first episode yesterday, we were both like, oh my God, they really nailed it with him. I was like, who the fuck is this? So, I looked him up and I went to see what's the last, what's he done? The last thing he did before this was Doctor Strange. And we had just seen Doctor Strange.
There you go.
Oh, wow.
Right.
And it's so funny because, like, his character in Doctor Strange, at the end of the movie when they're doing the credits and they show you the person, in the movie with their name on the screen, he got the treatment of, like, they did everybody, and then it said, and with Michael Stolberg. And I remember thinking, who? Like, who is he? Then he just got such
why is he
place.
that important?
Yeah. But apparently he's in the first Doctor Strange as well. He's done a lot of stuff. I don't really know him from stuff. But this transformation into this attorney is insane. Okay. So let's get into it. They surprisingly begin with something that... for me anyway, because, I kind of forgotten this part of it, especially if you don't know whether or not he gets acquitted or not, that it's 2017. And unfortunately you hear Donald Trump on the TV in the background.
I know.
Speaking in his role as what. And Michael Peterson is putting on a tie and getting ready to go out into the world. And I was like, oh, right. Right. It took me a minute, my brain, to, like, do the math on 2017. I was doing that COVID math. And I was like, oh, right. Okay. So he's not dead, or at least not as of 2017. And at least as of February 2017, he was out and about. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the past stuff first. So like prior to her death, if that's okay. And then we'll do like the aftermath stuff. Hold on a second. Let me just, okay. So, September 2001. So this is like 2 months before she dies. Martha's going away to college, and they have to do this. The family is having dinner, and they're doing like a toast around the table, right? And I don't know about you guys, but this was the scene where I remembered everybody's dirt. Like, I was like, oh, right, that's the son who's a fuck up.
Right.
Right? I was like,
This was the scene that I decided everyone is creepy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. Also, like drinking out of now we're in post-COVID times.
I know,
So
right?
disgusting.
And I was like, what is that we're drinking out of? Did you just pull that off a shelf? Like, did we dust it out? What are we doing? Like, this is nasty.
Horrific.
Yeah. And so then also in September 2001, we're seeing Kathleen was an executive at Nortel. And for anybody who's not familiar with Durham, North Carolina, it's my mother's side of the family is from there. I've lived there several times in my life. Fun fact, I lived there during this time. So I was preparing to get married. Yeah, Donnie and I met in Durham. This is where we lived at the time. This was a year before we got married. Kaylee was 2. Yeah. And I remember this. Like, I remember this happening, but it was overshadowed, as you can probably tell, by 9/11.
Right.
Like,
right.
It, you know what I mean? Like, the stuff is in the news, but it's not that, this is a few months after 9/11, and it was still basically all anybody wanted to consume. Do you remember how long it took to get like TV back to normal and stuff, like TV shows and stuff? Yeah. So anyway, but there is Durham has this really I don't know what the word I was, like a technology park. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but like so when I lived there, both times I've worked for MCI, I worked for IBM. But like IBM in this park of like other businesses like that. A lot of pharmaceutical, a lot of computer tech companies in this one area. So she worked for Nortel, which I think was like IBM, like communications, right? And she had to lay some folks off. And you can tell that she was worried about money at this time, right? And while she is Kathleen. While she's in the other room, I can't remember what she was prepping for. He's in another room on the phone with somebody talking about, you ready to get that ass pounded. And then that's when I was like, oh, that's right. Like all the detail, you know what I mean? Like all the
Right.
I was like, oh my God.
They just came out with it.
Right. I was like, that's right. Because I remember how, like, everybody else found out. Like, how we found out in the documentary was how they found out. Like, how they showed it with the photos, the computer and stuff. And we're all like, what? Yeah, but here they were like ass pounding. That's where we're starting with. We're just...
What killed me about it is, like, his mild tone of voice. It's just like, can you bring me a cup of butter or something like that? It was just like, so, you ready to get that ass pounded? It was just like, what?
There was nothing sexy about it, right?
At all.
No. Oh, that's what I think she might have been getting ready for this party. So also in September 2001, we have an empty nest party celebrating the fact that I guess Martha, again, the youngest, is the last to like move out, right? Although I do think at the time Todd was still living there, or he came back to live there, right? Because he had that whole website that went bust type thing, whatever.
Right.
So they have this empty nest party, and she's drinking. Kathleen's drinking. And again, I don't know about you guys, but then I was like, oh, that's right, because he says that she was tripping, and, like that whole thing about like this painting, like, did she drink too much? Did she have a habit of like drinking too much. And then we see, I don't remember this on the documentary though. Like, I don't remember this ever coming up. Her diving into the pool at this party. And I don't know, did she like, how did she hurt herself exactly?
Yeah, that's a good question, because it didn't seem, I mean, of course, this is just a recreation, so, you know,
Right.
you don't know how far she jumped or whatever.
Right.
But, like, either it was the shallow end and she hit her head when she jumped in, or it can even be the angle that you go in if you hit the water hard enough. But usually you have to go in, like, you know, a little bit harder than that. So anyway, I mean, the recreation is hard to say.
Is this stuff you learned from Michael's swimming lessons?
You asshole.
Sorry.
And she.
I don't remember that in the documentary about her falling in the pool.
And the fact that the one of the documentarians, and again, it's the black guy, the black French guy. The fact that he's involved in this is making me wonder. Again, I'm questioning like where these stories come from. I'm wondering, is this just stuff that he picked up in his time, you know, covering this for the documentary? And or is this just the director? Well, I know the third episode was directed and written by Anthony Campos, but I didn't look up the others. I'll go back and do that. Or is this stuff like they decided to throw in there? Because it feels like this had to have happened. This is a pretty serious thing to be like, she woke up in the hospital on 9/11, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, surely, you know, the fact that she had her neck brace on so long, you know, definitely it feels like it plays into all the, you know, stuff.
But so was this to show that that sometimes she just drank and got careless?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Not only that she drinks and gets. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I took it like that. Like she drank, and then also like there might have been like prior injuries to explain some of the injuries in the autopsy, maybe.
Okay.
Right. Injury prone. Yeah.
Okay. So then also in September, and again, we're still 2 months away from her death, there is Caitlin. So Caitlin again is Kathleen's biological daughter with her ex-husband. Caitlin had a parents' weekend at her college, and Kathleen was supposed to come, and she was going to do that and also host this fundraiser because Michael was running for city councilman, right? And she ends up canceling on Caitlin, right? To do this for Michael. And then you see how she did everything for this family.
Yeah.
Like everything. And then later you see how he is the type of man who needs people to do everything for him.
Oh, yeah. That he manipulates everybody, you know.
Now,
he's got a different story for everyone and who he thinks their role is in his life to get things done.
Did you guys pick that up in the documentary? Because I don't know if I did and forgot, or if this side of him wasn't evident in like I don't, or you know what I mean? I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember it from the documentary, but from this presentation of it, like he had his ex-wife bail out the sons.
Yeah.
Then he was trying to get Kathleen to do it too. So,
like, yeah. It certainly looks very overtly manipulative here. Yeah. And I don't remember if I felt that way or if it came off this way then. I do remember feeling like, I think you just said it, Sarah, as I was watching this, being like, oh yeah, that's right. He had an answer for everything. Like,
right.
Like there were certain things that they put in the show that you could tell was like scene for scene or frame for frame from the documentary. Like they just reenacted it. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember that, and feeling like he's full of shit.
Right.
Yeah. So, she ends up giving, see, stuff like this, like I'm wondering, like, did they talk about this the morning that she gave Clay, who's the son who had like some, or as Michael called it, he's the fuck up, she's giving him a ride to work or school and she hits a deer, and I'm like, this is the type of stuff that feels HBO. Does that make sense? Like, it feels like this would happen in Mayor of Easttown. Like, ooh, it's like ominous. And then she gets in the car and the cop shoots the deer and she jumps at the bullet sound. And it's like, this feels fake.
Yeah, like she's gradually becoming unraveled. And,
yeah. Like, did he push her? Like, what is happening? You know, like,
right.
This felt fake. And so, like, this type of stuff kind of takes me out. But,
yeah.
Let's see what happens next. Oh, the sauna scene. Michael's at the gym. He makes eye contact with this other man. They're in the sauna together. They make small talk. And then it's like they're about to start masturbating in front of each other, but two other guys come in.
The smallest of small talk. It's like,
yes.
Right?
Minuscule.
Based on his incredibly vague answers, I couldn't tell, and I don't know if the guy couldn't tell, if, like, is this the first time that Michael is trolling the gym for men, or is he a regular at trolling it? Because he's so vague, like, oh,
yeah,
isn't that, you know, like,
I couldn't tell.
Does he not know what he's doing, or what?
I couldn't tell.
Yeah, like it's...
Go ahead. No, go, Ellen.
He seemed very, like that wasn't the first time he did that type thing. Yeah. Like, he had his little routine, almost.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he seems to have a type.
Yeah.
Because, like, he seems to, like, because this isn't the same guy. Yeah. It's a totally different guy, but they're both military.
Right.
Yeah. He seems to have a type. So yeah, and Kathleen ends up disappointing her daughter by not showing up. And where are we? So then at the fundraiser that they have at their house, her sister Lori shows up with a man named Dennis Rowe. Listen, when Dennis pulls his shit later, I love it. We'll talk about it, but I love when Dennis pulls his shit later. But, like, this was so obvious, right? Like, when he, like, looks at him and then he's like, oh, I better go check on the meatballs or whatever he said. I was like, they totally hooked up, right?
Oh, yeah. He could not be more obvious. Especially since he was supposed to be, they're there as potential donors, and so, you know, he should be chatting every single person up. Yes, and instead he's like, welp, gotta go.
Nice to meet you, Dennis. And I thought, oh man, and I couldn't remember, like, if this guy comes up again, like if this is someone who testifies. And we see later that it appears that he was gonna be, but right. Yeah. But we'll talk about, what I think ruined that later. But anyway, so the fundraiser goes off and then she admits to him that she's tired. I was like, girl, preach. I felt that. I felt it in my bones when she says she's just tired to her bones.
Oh my God. I was so impressed with the whole, you know, the fact that the waiters and stuff turned out to be the dance people.
Oh yeah, that was so pretty. It was so cool.
I was like, wow.
Because when he announced it, like, the dance group of Durham, and, like, one person, like, turned and looked, and I was like, where are they? Like, I thought they missed their cue or something at first. I was like, where are they?
Where are they? Yeah.
Yeah. And as this is going on, the party, they are cutting back and forth to, like, the kind of forensic scenes of them collecting the evidence from the staircase, and the whole voice on a tape yelling, help, help, help. A woman's voice. Okay. Now, she calls Caitlin to apologize, and then she hears something like up in the ceiling. And this is when I remembered the owl theory. Because I was like, is that what it's supposed to be? Is it supposed to be an owl? But I figured, okay, is this how the owl comes into play? Okay, then it jumps forward a month to October 2001, and she learns that she has bats. And it's going to be pretty expensive because apparently she was like, how much to get rid of them? He was like, ma'am.
You can't just get rid of them.
You just can't come in and killing these things.
Right? These aren't roaches. You can't just spray for bats.
And that was like me. I would have been like, well, what do we do? I was like, why I got to pay for them to move? What? Relocate where? Where do they belong? This sounds expensive.
Right. Can I just leave a window open? Like,
right? Like, I can't even afford a vacation. Where are we sending them?
And then you said that they're lucky they're not in the plumbing, in the pipes. I'm like, is that real? Is that just something to get them to spend more money? Because like the thought of like taking a pee one day and having a bat fly out at me is just not. I can't handle it.
Oh my God! Right? How and why would they be in the pipes? That's my. I didn't look this up, but I was flabbergasted.
And then she walks in on him talking to his ex on the phone and asking her for money for their boys.
Yeah.
And he says, and this felt like, you know, like when a kid is telling you something good about themselves, but it's really a way to dry snitch on somebody else, like to make themselves, do you know what I mean? Like that type of thing. That's what this felt like when he was like, well, things are really, really weird at Nortel, so Kathleen, I can't ask her. You know, like you are absolutely asking her right now. You are setting this up. You are making it look like, see, I'm asking Patty.
Right.
See, I'm not going to bother you.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, manipulative. He does suck. And so this is when he surprises her with the massage. Now, they are so wrong for this because she comes home and there's a car she doesn't recognize in her driveway. She looks into the car to try to like figure out who the fuck is this. And in the passenger seat, it's like lotions
and baby oil. I died. I was like, oh no.
And I was trying to remember. I was like, did she catch him with somebody in the documentary? Like, did I know this?
He just wants to moisturize.
And I'm like, he could not have been this dumb.
Right.
And why? Who just puts this shit in their passenger seat? I was so confused.
Yeah, like in the South, I mean, that stuff gets so hot and it will like melt out of the bottle.
Yes.
Like it was at the point where, I mean, they set that up so hard that I wasn't even sure that I believed that he intended that to be a massage for her.
Right.
Right. It's like, your skin's not even that soft.
Are you sure you're a masseuse?
So, but she gets this massage, and then they do this thing where she's on the table, and so she can like see his feet as he's leaving the room, because he tried to stay, and he was making it seem like he wanted to chat up a constituent, right? Because he's trying to get votes, but they're setting it up to clearly they want us to question whether or not he was hitting on this guy or there was something, because they never showed us like their faces directly so we could even see what their faces were saying.
Right.
As as we were hearing their words. So I was like, oh, they're really setting this up. And then they did that thing where she could see his feet leaving and he paused and like turned back around. I'm like, oh, this is so gross. It was just uncomfortable.
Yeah. In so many ways, like the fact that he does something, quote, nice for her, which of course she figures out he's buttering her up for later, literally buttering her up. But, you know, and that he's willing to intrude on her peace. So even if he's doing something nice for her, he's hijacking it.
Yes.
And then also the possibility that he is either hitting on the masseuse or has already slept with the masseuse, you know.
Right.
He, so was he like, I mean, I guess I suppose that's, I mean, it's so gross, and it's gross because like a woman really died.
Yeah.
So it's like, but I guess in terms of watching a TV show and drama, them not showing, I guess it fits the whole story, because to this day, there are people who are just still not sure. And I guess I should ask you guys, do you think he did it?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do too. And I'm almost always like wishy-washy. I even remember Making a Murderer. Nina, you were like that. He did it. And I was like, I'm like 90% sure he did, but no. This, I'm like, yeah, he fucking did it.
Yeah, I'm usually wishy-washy, I think, too. I think I want to see the best in people, I guess. I don't know. Like, if he makes an effort. I feel like the guy Making a Murderer wasn't even trying to pretend to be a good person. But this guy is, like, kind of goofy, and yes, he does have an answer for everything. But I think it's because of that. Like, watching these episodes, I started, again, remembering certain things that happened and the way he talked about certain things. And it did feel like he needed to be the star of his own show.
Oh, yeah. I've just
at all
known
times.
Too many old white male writers, and I'm suspicious of all of them. So
fair. So Brad cancels the ass pounding, which causes Mike to go to Backbuster. What?
Oh my God.
Sorry, I had to. I was like, what is going on? Like, I feel like there's like a part of me, I watch this and it's just so annoying because I feel like it paints homosexuality as, dirty and
a crime.
But then on the other hand, I remember where they are, and I remember where we all are and how people are treated, and how it's very hypocritical to be like, just be yourself and go, and it's like, no, you make it impossible for people to do that. Now, but again, you throw into that has nothing to do with, though, the fact that this is a married man who I don't believe she knew.
Same.
Right?
Definitely not.
Right. Not in the way that he's saying. Maybe she did find out and it's what got her killed. I don't think so.
Maybe she
I think
suspected, but they didn't have an agreement.
Right. They exactly all of that. But that though, like that's somebody making a choice to be devilish, to do this horrible thing to this woman. And so I watch scenes like this. This is what I'm feeling. Like, it's like, ugh.
Right.
It's, but yeah, he spots a guy who we're going to see later in present day. Tyrone. Okay, what else? We're getting closer. When he comes home, he's like, Patty can't refinance the house because of some German laws or something, real estate laws. She realizes this was all a plan to butter her up and eat her ass. There's a lot of talk of rimming in these 3 episodes.
There is. Like, I don't remember this being quite so popular earlier in the timeline.
Right?
Back then, like,
I was like, first of all, like, she's like, I realize you're buttering me up, whatever, fine. And it's for his sons, right? Like, it's money that, I guess, to continue donating to them, not donating, to continue supporting them monthly. Yeah. Right. And she says, I guess then fine, we'll have to do this. And she's making allowances and stuff. And he's just staring at her and I'm like, is this where he decided to kill her? Or is this where he's like, I'm such a shitbag, I can't believe I'm planning to kill her. I couldn't tell what he was thinking. I definitely didn't think he was thinking, I'm going to eat her stomach and then her ass. I did not have that on my bingo card.
Yeah, I think Parker Posey's scene maybe foreshadowed that, because she's like, rimming? What is that? Does anyone even like that?
Exactly.
And 5 minutes later, it's like, whoop, okay.
She's like, are y'all into that? They're like, oh no.
The DA was like, all right, listen, let's get back on.
Right. We don't need this conversation.
He was way ahead of his time. He was like, you can get in trouble for this shit. Don't be asking people that at work. All right, so that's the last thing I have in terms of their life prior to the murder, right?
And it ends with the rimming.
It ends with the rimming.
Where do you go from there, really?
Right?
I mean, you gotta waltz forward.
So, this was December 9th, 2001, 2:40 in the morning. Todd comes home and he's drunk. His friend is driving him, and they pull into the driveway to find a bunch of cops and ambulance there. And when he goes inside, well, first the cop at the door is like, he's like, I live here, this is my house, and I live with my parents. And he was like, her too? And she's like, no, it's just a friend. And he lets him go inside. I thought that was I was like, where the fuck did they do that at? If I know that his mother is dead and they're on the floor, I'm not just letting him walk in.
No.
It just felt...
Even if you live here, that doesn't mean you can just walk in.
Right. I felt like they did that. And I mean, I'm guessing this, really happened. This is the way it happened. So it's like, I kept thinking, I guess this is all to show that they did not suspect crime scene. Right? Again, I wasn't even thinking crime scene. Why would you let him in? I was just thinking basic human compassion. Right? You just told me
you wouldn't want him to see that.
Yeah, I was just like, what are you doing? But I felt like they treated this whole thing like they believed the story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so to the point where when he was like, come on, let's go, let's wash your hands, and nobody stopped him, I was writing in my notes, wow, he's not a suspect if they're letting him. And then that's when the guy came in and was like, sir, stop doing that. And I was like, oh, never mind. He was so... I remember watching this first episode thinking, I can't tell if Colin Firth is really bad or if Michael Peterson was just really bad acting. Mm-hmm. Do you get what I mean? I really feel like he nailed somebody who is acting like they're trying to be one, they're trying to express certain emotions.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's completely intentional. The thing that he is really known for as an actor all the way back to Mr. Darcy is his restraint in acting. I guess you would say his economy in acting. So he's one of those people that can just act with a flinch, and you completely get it. And so he's definitely putting it on.
Okay. So this guy who comes in, they have a warrant this time, and so they're like, we are gonna, it's now a crime scene, and we're gonna go through we're gonna need your computers, keys, blah blah blah. Uncle Bill's on the way, and when this guy, I forget his name, I'm sorry guys, I didn't write it down, but he's the guy who goes out doing when they're trying to find men that Michael slept with, and so he's going around asking, that guy. Yeah. I think it's the same guy. he's the one who calls the DA. And then I think this is the first time we learn what changed for them. Like, when exactly they got suspicious. And we learn that, first of all, there's just like so much blood for a fall down the stairs.
That was wild.
Yes.
I know. It's graphic.
All the blood.
And then there was the fact that her eyes were dilated. I can't remember what he said they were dilated, but that indicated that she'd been dead a lot longer than he said, than Michael Peterson said. So it was like, oh, okay, so yeah, they were like kind of taking his word for it in the beginning, but the more, like, you know, once the medical examiner, somebody who knows what to look for, got there, was like, yeah, no.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next day he makes the phone calls. And I'd forgotten this bit to the point where I couldn't figure out who the fuck he called. He called her sisters, and got them, but didn't tell them that their sister was dead. He asked for their husband's phone number so he could call their husbands, tell them, and then have the husbands call their wives and say, your sister died.
Right. It was all about putting a middleman in between him and the news.
Right.
And it felt like, I wonder if he felt like he couldn't pull that off.
Yeah, I mean, definitely if they started firing questions at him or something like that, he doesn't think on his feet.
Yeah.
You know, he's got to sit there and like get their impressions, you know, secondhand so he can prepare his questions.
And then it looks like, to anybody watching, like, I think it was Todd who was sitting there with him when he was doing this. To them, it just looks like he's so traumatized. He's grieving so much that he just can't.
And that he wants somebody to be there for the person getting news.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Right.
Psychopath. So we have the autopsy scene, which we touched on a little bit, how graphic it was. They discover a pine needle in her... Was it in her hand?
It was like between her fingers.
Yeah. And the woman, the medical examiner, she notes that she struggled. Right. Kathleen, yeah.
There's like blood under her fingernails.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the most important piece.
And then there was lacerations on her head that didn't match, like falling down the stairs.
Right. So Michael almost immediately insists that it's a witch hunt because at the time, and I should mention this, he was a little bit of history on him really quickly, and some of the stuff they touch on. He was a Vietnam veteran, and he had at one point run for mayor, and during that run, he had alleged that he'd won a Purple Heart, like a bronze and silver star, and I think 2 Purple Hearts, right? And it came out that he'd only earned the silver and bronze stars. That an injury he said he received, and then the reason why he would have gotten one of those Purple Hearts, that injury was actually not obtained the way he said it was obtained. And so that came out. He lost that mayoral bid. He was a novelist. He'd written books, I think primarily about the war.
Yeah.
And then he eventually was a writer for a newspaper. And he wrote about local politics and things like that. And wrote some unfavorable things about the Durham Police Department
Mm-hmm.
and the prosecutor's office. So he alleges that this is them getting revenge.
Right.
So they find
It's so crazy with the medal thing because, like, it's a big deal to get
Mm-hmm.
the stars medals to start with.
That should be enough. Yeah.
You should have just said that. It just stopped
Yeah.
there. But he had to also make himself a victim and
Right.
claim the Purple Heart, which you can only get in combat when he was injured, just on base driving.
Driving, yeah.
So you wouldn't have gotten it for that, obviously. But
Right.
like
In
he should just
Japan, I
stop
think.
with the
Yeah.
star. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why, like,
Brave.
later, when Caitlyn was like, like the, I think she says the thing about, does she say the thing about Vietnam? She said something talking to the other sisters.
Yeah.
I'm just going to start
she says that
calling
he
him
lied about
Eminem.
things.
Go ahead. What'd you say? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Ellen.
like she was saying that he lied about things.
Right. And she
Yeah.
goes, that's a big deal, though. Like,
Yeah.
and then lying about your sexuality, like, that's just who you are,
Right.
And I'm so glad, like, that she said that, because it's true. It's not like he got caught lying about things that ultimately don't matter.
Right.
Because then you just wonder, why people do things like that is typically maybe to save face or make yourself look better about something, whatever. Usually silly things. But this is like huge. This is like psychopathic
Yeah.
and consistent, So they find a condom in the bedroom. And he's like, "Oh, we don't use condoms." Why did he put, like, what?
Right.
I know. Yeah.
Then you're like, so why was it in the bedroom then?
Right. I'm trying to, like, I don't remember how that was, I'm sure that has to come up again.
Yeah.
I just
If
don't
it never comes out
remember.
why.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't remember the details around it, but my first thought was, again, being someone who believes that he did it, I'm like, why would you not, unless, like, you don't clean that up because you don't think they're going to go look up there, because you think they're
Right.
going to believe that she fell down the stairs.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what possible explanation? But, like, why wouldn't he just say, well, yeah, I mean, we had sex earlier in the day. Like, why wouldn't you just say that?
Right.
know?
Yeah. It's like,
'Cause, I mean, married people use condoms if they don't, want to use regular birth control. Or, I mean, if you don't, fine. And if you do, there's, like, nothing weird about it.
Yeah,
Like, why is
it's
he
just
acting
such
like
a-
it's weird?
yeah, it's such a weird detail to be in here, and I don't remember how it plays out.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah. There's so. I mean, I watched that thing on Netflix, and it's like, and now I'm watching it on HBO, and I'm like, I don't remember a lot of this shit. Which is actually kind of good because now I can be, more surprised. But
Yeah, I agree. So the results of the autopsy, I thought a couple of things was interesting. Strangulation inconclusive, she said. She specifically said that. And then the strangulation inconclusive. And so when they want her to put the cause of death, she's like, I don't have, that's not what the evidence says. That's not what this report says. And he basically pressures her. Harlan, I think his name is, right? Let me double check my cast list. He pressures her to say that it was homicide, right?
I think
What's his
I don't
name?
know.
Hardin. Okay, that's his
Hardin.
name. Yeah.
was
Go ahead.
Yeah. And I just watched these episodes today. I'm like, shit, what's up? I need some ginkgo biloba or some shit. I don't know.
You know what I forgot? I forgot that his attorney, David Rudolph, I forgot that he represented Ray Caruth. And I don't know how
the football player.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Do you remember that story, Sarah?
Yeah, just vaguely, but yes, I mean, I remember the name and stuff.
Yeah, so he played for the Carolina Panthers, and he paid some men to shoot and kill his pregnant girlfriend.
Oh, yeah.
And she died, and the baby was born with he's developmentally delayed.
Mm-hmm.
And when they put out an arrest warrant for him, he like went on the run, and they found him hiding in the trunk of a car.
Yeah.
And Donnie and I were like debating. I was like, I'm pretty sure it was like the car was like at the airport. Donnie's like, no, I thought it was on the side of the road after like a high-speed chase. Like, we have conflicting memories about how it happened. But so this attorney that basically has a little mini interview with Michael, also represented Ray Carew. So the sisters arrive. Again, this casting is so good. It's so good.
Yes.
These sisters, especially the one who, when she was like the blowpoke sister. I remembered how annoying she was. And I feel bad. Let me stop. I know. I feel bad. I gotta stop because they're not characters. They're people.
Right.
So I feel real bad, but I was watching this and I was like, yeah, I remember how annoying she was.
In real life.
Yes, but it's real life. I'm sorry, miss. I'm sorry. Anyway, they want to talk. They want to talk about it. And so they kind of force him to say what happened that night, which is that they were celebrating because he'd optioned a book. And I was like, notice how the night starts about him.
Yeah.
But again, I think he did it, so I'm side-eyeing everything he says, you know? Mm-hmm. And that after Todd and his friend left, he went to Blockbuster and rented a movie, America's Sweetheart. If they say that one more again.
One more time. Like, do you think they actually rented that and or watched that? Because it seems like he picked that because it's like something, I don't know, it's like all American.
Like wholesome.
Or
Shrek. Yeah.
Or he picked something he knew would, like, at the time be in. Because another fun fact, Donnie and I met working at Blockbuster in Durham, North Carolina.
Oh my God.
Way.
Did you rent him America's Sweetheart?
But you know who used to come into our Blockbuster a lot? Oh my God, Ellen's gonna know. This is
I'm
so
gonna
funny.
know. Oh, I want to hear this now.
Because it has a 90210 connection.
Tell me.
So you know the actor who plays David Silver's father?
Yes.
You know he's twins, right?
Yeah.
He's a twin?
Mitchell something.
Yeah, so one of them.
Mitchell Lawrence.
Yeah. One of them came into our Blockbuster all the time. And
Dr.
I remember
Silver.
Yeah, I remember I think it's the brother, and I remember him from my soap opera.
Oh,
I don't remember which soap opera it was. But that's how I knew him.
It's Matthew
first.
and Mitchell Lawrence, and I don't know which one is which.
Mm.
Which one played David Silver's father?
But Donnie will remember. But yeah, okay, so my point was, and I remembered this when she wanted him to get the fuck out her massage. And she said, you need to get to Blockbuster before all the good movies are gone. Because that was absolutely a thing, remember?
Yeah.
Or, sometimes you'd be like, looking for something, and then like you hear that little noise to let you know somebody returned.
Right.
Movie in the slot, so you run up front and ask them to check it to see.
Yes.
Is that what I want? Yeah.
Yeah. So like, so I wondered, like, did he pick something that you remember those titles that we would have, like we would have like a whole wall
Right.
of like that title, so you knew that shit was in stock. Like, I don't know. I just doubt everything he said. But he says after the movie, they went out by the pool to drink some wine, and then she took a phone call for work, and then said she was going to call it a night because she had to go into work the next day. And then, so he decided to stay out by the pool, and then I want to say, I don't remember how long he says he stayed. He says that they went out to the pool around 11. And then the call came to 911 around 2 something, right?
Yeah.
So, but he says he eventually went in the house and found her at the bottom of the stairs. That's the story. Did you notice that they made it look like she pissed her pants?
Yes, I did notice that, and that was one of the first moments I was like, "Whoa!" Like,
Yeah,
it was
I was
just
like,
graphic. It was just like extra. I thought.
and then I
Like,
swore it felt like there was one part where the camera was panning through the house, and it, like the crime scene, like the police, taking video of the night of, and it felt like actual footage, and you saw her, and I was like, it didn't look like that.
Yeah.
But I'm trusting, like, if they did it for this, something like that, they wouldn't have put in there otherwise. Does that make sense? Like, it just feels like, why would you add something like that?
Yeah.
If it's not real, if it's not really, I don't know. Am I making sense? My edible totally
even
kicked
though
in.
that's
Okay.
like, you have to assume, that kind of thing happens,
Right, right.
after people die.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
that's normal. I'm just not used to seeing it depicted,
Right, right.
in a TV
right.
show.
Right. So as he's telling this to the kids, like that this is what happened that night, did you notice when Todd said, and he talked about, because as they're telling the story, right? And he says, and then Todd and his friend left, and then Todd immediately picks up. It almost felt rehearsed. Like, it was so weird. I was like, who tells a story like that? Like, it was weird. Like, Todd took his turn or whatever, but he made a comment that she was tipsy. And then Caitlin kind of like bristled. Did you notice that?
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I love it because later she blows up and is like, stop saying she was drunk.
Right.
That poor girl.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, I don't know. Do you think those kids, like, and I kind of want to do my Googles, but I wonder if they ever doubt it. Like, I mean, clearly here they're showing that they did, or at least Martha seems to be like, at least let's have the conversation. Let's ask the questions. But I wonder what they believe.
I think 2 of the girls eventually, they show that one of the girls breaks off. I think the younger one also eventually breaks off. And then, do the boys they seem so stupid.
I was gonna say, like, they are definitely setting it up that the boys need him more than the girls.
Well, and they're so, coked out, who knows what they believe.
Right.
Seriously?
Right.
Well, Caitlin always kind of broke off. Like, she went with the sisters right away, it seemed like. She...
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I meant the Eminem. I meant Martha and Margaret and the 2 boys. I wonder if they, like, ever secretly to themselves said...
Yeah, that's a good question.
I think they probably had to wonder on some level.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, of course. I like there's a part here where they're talking about how aggressive the police are being, and his brother's like, I've never seen anything like it in 30 years of law. And I was like, motherfucker, you just said you don't do criminal law.
I've never seen anything like that in real estate law. Of course not. There's no cops in real estate law.
I was like, that was so silly.
Well, you've never been to one of his open houses. You don't know.
I thought the birthday cake was really weird.
So creepy. Like at that point, it's just like, and the singing was like a dirge, you know? Like, do not sing to me. Like, get the cake if you absolutely have to. Don't put a candle on it, and don't sing.
Right, come on. Then we have the funeral. The only notes I have here is the way they recreated even the family photos. Like, it just felt like watching the documentary again. You know? The way they pose, the clothes, like, so, I mean, they nailed it. I mean, and why wouldn't they? Of course they should. Like, again, they have all this material, but it just, again, it's kind of just creepy sometimes, you know? And it just is specifically, there's like a shot of them panning across the house and all those framed photos. And I'm like, I remember those photos. And they look exactly like that. I thought he was so extra too. Like when he goes up to the casket, that it was like cringe, you know?
Very.
So the grand jury, they show the sisters the photos, her autopsy photos, right? And then they tell the sisters, they being Hardin and Freda Black, they tell the sisters, we believe, the autopsy photos and the photos of the naked men that they found on Michael's computer. They say, we believe she found those photos that night, and that's why he killed her. And I was like, what evidence do you have of that? I was like, how did we make that jump? I was like, did she print them out like you did later? Like, what?
I mean, you know, like, as a lifelong sneaky person, so you just, like, with the person that you're snooping on, you go in their office while they're home and go through their computer and just happen across a folder of gay men. Like, no.
And I do think that is I do believe that ends up being their story, right? That she went inside and found that and confronted him.
Yeah.
I think honestly he did it and planned to do it for the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
It's as simple as that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I was reading about like the debt that they were in, and the
Sarah did her homework. Spill the tea, sis.
Yeah, the couple themselves had over $100,000 in credit card debt. Jesus. Like, how do you have $100,000 in credit card debt? And then the boys had their own credit card debt. They said that the two boys were paying over $1,000 in interest every month. Outrageous.
White people.
Yeah.
Listen, ain't nobody extending that kind of shit to us. So
right. And even though she was very, very well paid, especially for, early in the, whatever time that was. I can't remember the year. But anyway.
Early aughts.
Yeah, early aughts. I mean, she was making over $100,000 a year. He had his writing career, but that, was kind of like, unpredictable. But she did have her life insurance policy, and, they tried to argue that because, like, his side tries to argue, he did, she's actually worth more alive, but, I mean, it seemed like they were really underwater.
Yeah. And let me tell you something about where they lived.
Yeah.
That house reminds me of, I said it to Donnie the moment we saw it, but back then with the documentary of my mother-in-law's house, the house that she was living in when Donnie and I met. Those nice fucking houses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was, and something I read was a description. It might be an IMDb or something, but it was like a description of the show. And it was like a novelist is accused about when his wife is found at the bottom of the staircase in their North Carolina mansion. And I was like, that's not a mansion. But then the more I'm watching this fucking show, I'm like, well,
It's pretty big. Yeah.
that's a big fucking house. Jeez. Yeah, so you have that. And then it seems like they were taking on, the expense of the girls' school.
Right. Private schooling.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then whatever mess they were bailing out Clayton and Todd.
Right.
Yep. So one of the episodes ends with, I guess it's that first one, and I just have Harpo, who this woman? Because we're back to February 2017, and he has a woman.
Oh yeah, the lady with the gray hair.
Yeah, I think her name is
Juliette
Sophia.
Binoche.
Is that who that? No.
Yes.
Right. I couldn't remember. You know how when you see someone, well, she wasn't on 90210, so I just didn't know who she was. I recognized her, but couldn't place it.
Okay.
There was no Mel Silver on 90210.
It's my longtime crush, Juliette Binoche.
I did not recognize her.
Now, I remember something came out about the documentary people that were filming him.
Yes.
Is that okay to say?
Yes. Yes.
Didn't it come out that he was dating one of the producers?
I think he ends up, yeah. And then I wasn't sure if that's who she was supposed to be at the end of this episode, but then later which is what we're about to get into, when episode 2 begins, this is what I have in my notes. Paris, December 2001. Who this black man? I don't remember any Negroes in this documentary. Now we're really getting creative, huh? Because I feel like there's a lot of black people that I just didn't remember in the documentary. Because David Rudolph's homeboy is black. I don't remember if this was the case in the actual documentary. But now I'm assuming, because this is their, production, like this is him producing it, I'm assuming he's a black man. Unless he's a white man.
I guess, yeah. Like, why would he
me.
cast himself as a black man if he's not?
I don't know, living out some personal fantasy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did not know this. Oh, so I'm sorry, Ellen, I cut you off.
No, I don't even remember what I was going to say. But the opening of the second episode, I remember being kind of confused. Like,
yes,
what are they doing? And then I remembered, I'm like, oh yeah, the production company.
Mm-hmm.
I know,
because they're looking for their next story.
Sensational story.
Yes. And the reason, I don't know if this is what you were going to say, but we got on this because we were talking about the fact that I didn't know for a fact that the woman was the documentary associate until the next time we see her. She's speaking French, and then but this episode opens with these French guys, and then I remembered, oh, that's right. So I'm assuming this is how they met through.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so they're looking for their next story. Okay, so apparently these guys, and I meant to do my homework, I'm sorry, I forgot to click it, they won an Oscar for the film. So when they're being pitched to Michael, they say something like their last film, there's Oscar buzz around it. Apparently they won.
Oh.
I don't remember what the name of the documentary is. I'm so sorry.
I'll look it
Okay. But so they're looking for their next story. I'm sorry, and I got a chuckle when they were like, "No, Florida." Sorry.
I laughed so hard. They were like, yeah, he was like, yeah, we can't use that story because Florida, it's crazy there. Yeah.
Yes.
I was like, yes, it's true.
I thought of you. You were like that Leo DiCaprio gif. You're like, you snap your big point at the screen. You're like, he's right.
Completely sympathize with that because you're right. Anything could happen here. So it's just too much.
Too much. So then it's Christmas time, 2001. This is 16 days after she dies. Aunt Blair calls Margaret. Now, at this point, I was like, who the fuck is Aunt Blair? And she want to talk about Germany. And I'm like, what? Because then I knew what she meant about Germany. But I was like, I was confused as to who. So later we find out Aunt Blair is their Margaret and Martha's mother's sister.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So their maternal aunt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Michael calls from jail. And he's like, Candace and Lori are ignoring me. Those are Kathleen's sisters. And then Caitlin snaps at Todd, right? This is when she's like, stop saying she was drunk. And you start to see her kind of cracking a little bit or splintering from the rest of the siblings.
Yeah.
And then we get the fire stoking scene. And I was like, oh, that's right. This is, I remember. We're going to get there. And then I remembered the blow poke. Yeah, somebody's like, oh, it's cold, go stoke the fire. I was like, oh yeah, I remember this now. So Michael is using Kathleen's back pay from Nortel to cover his bail and his attorney's retainer. But other than that, he's going to have to come up with some money. And he's banking on, if I'm not mistaken, her life insurance, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. This motherfucker comes home to discover that the cops came through searching his office again. And they printed out these pornographic images that they found on his computer. Now, did they do that?
Maybe it's my lack of experience in this area, but did it look photoshopped the way that guy's dink was just straight up?
It really did look like it was fake. Yeah.
Listen,
I don't know much about this, but
I have got to say, I was not looking, I was writing notes, and all I know is I remember looking up and just seeing a whiff of dick.
Right.
A wisp. A wisp. Just
a wick.
Yes, a little wick of dick.
I feel like it had to be Photoshopped because you shouldn't be able to see that much that clearly from this distance.
It just looked at a funny angle too. I'm like,
right.
I guess. You know me. I'm like, I guess. I don't know. Maybe.
Y'all gonna make me go back and watch it.
I'm gonna freeze frame it.
So this motherfucker goes to his brother and he's basically, do me a favor, go tell my kids I'm gay. I'm like, what?
He's such a coward.
Tell him about the gay thing, will you? Just tell him.
Oh my god. I was like, I don't remember if I knew this or not. Because I was always pretty sure that he did it. I'm, going into and I think out of the documentary. But again, I don't remember him being this much of a fucking psychopath. But go tell my children. And he insists that Kathleen knew that he's bisexual.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. His answer for everything is of course. Of course you knew. Of course.
Yeah.
When Caitlin's dad comes over to talk about the money, that was so fucking awkward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I just felt that. That just felt so icky. And Yeah. And he's the one who brings up the fact that her life insurance, and when they say back pay, like what back pay? Do they mean like her pension? Like they kept calling it back pay.
Yeah, I guess so. Like pension and or, like vacation you hadn't taken.
Okay,
Right,
okay,
like
okay, okay, yeah,
saved
right,
up,
right,
yeah.
right. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then Caitlin tries to express doubts to her sisters, but they're pretty much like they shut it down, right?
Right.
Right. And it was interesting that, each of these, obviously this is, dramatized, but it definitely seems like the parents set these kids up against each other to start with because of the different ways that they related to them and like compartmentalized. Like Kathleen certainly wasn't a saint in the way that she treated the kids,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
like she pointed out like that she and Caitlin, had basically an inappropriately close relationship where
Yes.
she dumps all of her like TMI on Caitlin
Right.
and even talked about her sexual relationships with her,
Right.
whereas she didn't do that with the other girls at all.
Right. Right.
Yep.
The SBI, this was so funny the way they did this. They want to recreate, and I hope I'm saying that right. I think they're called the SBI. They need to they want to recreate what they believe happened to Kathleen. They want to recreate the way they believe Michael Peterson killed her to determine what the weapon is. So there's a shot of them spanning across like these tables that have different weapons on it because they're looking for something that is strong enough to cause the brain damage that it did to be fatal without fracturing the skull, though. Right?
Right.
So on this table, they have like this big ass wrench and this mallet and this golf club and this, and it's like, why aren't you supposed to like, it felt like they were, I don't know, this isn't what I do, but this felt a little backwards. Like, it felt like they were setting what they wanted to happen.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Right.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
probably not expert. So, like, to determine what the weapon was. But, like, why do you have these things? Like, what if he doesn't have golf clubs? So, did they take things that were directly from his house? And if that's the case, like, why don't you take, how do you determine what you take?
Yeah, I think,
Right.
there are definitely people that do this almost have kind of an encyclopedic, idea of what types and shapes of weapons cause what type and shapes of wounds. And so they would just say, like, what we're looking for is something long, that he would have leverage, and it can't have a big ending, and it has to be slightly hollow. And so, like, just go in and take all those things,
Got it.
and then we'll work from there.
So,
This is our medical journal background talking. Huh?
Yeah.
yes. When she was
Yeah.
like, and like when she said an encyclopedia, like I knew she was being like absolute. Like, no, there's like this is a guide. So when they cut to the person in charge at the SBI, in charge of this part of the investigation, it was almost like a CSI. Like I expected
Yes.
like that song from CSI to start playing. I was like, he was taking this,
And that's
so
the owl. Hoo, hoo.
Exactly. But then, and I'm jumping ahead a bit, but we see later this man in 2017 at least, he works at CVS. And I was like, oh, that's right. Because isn't there some, like, I don't remember, like, he got busted, like, falsifying
Yeah.
his qualifications, I think. Something. Like, this guy is...
Yeah, there's definitely something weird going on.
Yeah. So now he works at CVS, which is, there's nothing wrong with working at CVS. I'm sorry. I'm laughing because of the way it went down. He walks in there to buy, like, some gum or something. I don't know. And they just come face to face. And, like, shit like this. Like, did this happen? Probably not.
It was, you know what it is? Because I recognize that bottle. It's Goo Gone.
Oh, right, because he has something on his tie.
Yeah. It's like sticker remover.
Oh my god, okay. Michael refused to look at the autopsy photos. Caitlin is deposed. I love this scene when they are asking her questions and they start quoting her thoughts on Michael. And she's like, where'd you get that? She's like, you wrote it. Like, she goes, oh, yeah, I know. It's like a paper I wrote. But where'd you get it? And he's like, Michael gave it to us. So did he just, like, save that? Like,
that sounded like something you would do, wouldn't it? Like, ooh, this was something nice about me.
So, like, it's right? Like, did he put it in a scrapbook? Or was it just, like, I don't know, like, I guess maybe if she gifted it to him, like, for Father's Day or something, I don't know, but, like, it just felt weird that he not only had it, but that he gave it to them.
Yes, like he had been keeping proof of how much he had the kids bamboozled over the years or something.
Right. But then later he called her a greedy bitch so fast.
He did.
Okay.
The way that they slung around bitch toward these girls.
Oh my god.
Ooh.
Yep.
Oh yeah, okay, we're gonna and so she ends up like just walking out. Like she doesn't finish the interview, right?
Right.
Okay. So then we have the aftermath of her death and then them finding out that Michael is seriously a suspect. Caitlin meets with the DA and Freda, and that's where they show her the autopsy photos, and she decides to move out. Yeah, she lost it at where I absolutely would have, which was the head wounds.
Yeah.
Because how do you... Well, yeah, we could talk about it now because this is exactly what happens. Because you're thinking, how do you get those wounds?
Right.
Falling down the stairs. And that segues into after she moves out. Oh, really quickly. She leaves a letter for Eminem and they read it and then crumple it. Well, Margaret crumples it up and throws it out the window. I want to know what that letter said.
Yeah. I wonder if we're going to go back
and see that. Yeah.
And see it. Or if it just says, I saw the autopsy photos and there's no way, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
You're just supposed to assume.
So what the defense says happened was, and they show it to us, like Toni Collette acts this out, is her, well, first there's like her like deciding, I think she's going to like go put some stuff away, and then she's like, no, it'll just wait till tomorrow. And that was just like, how does anybody know that happened? You know, like, why do you put stuff like that in there? Because to me, that was like a punch in the gut, because it's like, would things have been different? Like, is it because if in fact this is what happened, right? Like, would you have walked up the stairs the same way? Would you have not run up the stairs? Because what they're are maintaining is that for whatever reason, you know, she was kind of like jogging up the stairs and she slipped and fell backwards and hit her head on the door jamb, right? Like the edge of the door and the open doorway, and which would supposedly align with that long kind of gash, like a pole, like indentation in her head that she had, and then she passes out from that, and she's bleeding from the back of her head, and she's out for, what would you say, 10, 15 seconds maybe?
Yeah, not too long. Yeah.
Not too long. And she comes to, and she is bleeding from the back of her head, disoriented. She touches the back of her head. She's touching the walls, trying to get up. And she ends up slipping in her own blood, falling backwards and hitting her head again.
Yeah, this was one of those scenes where I was like, whoa. Like that. It was really graphic. I thought, like,
yeah, this is where I was just like, I don't know if her family is involved in this at all.
Yeah.
It seemed, head wounds can bleed really heavily, and the way
isn't that like a thing about them though, that they are deceptively, like they bleed, they're notorious for bleeding a lot, even like the smallest head wound.
Right. Yeah, just because your skin is so thin, and because your blood is pumping up towards your head all the time, and and when she came to and she sits up and it starts pouring over her head, I was like, it was so horrifying.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Oh, and I should point out that before this, right, the forensic expert that the defense brought in, who, again, the moment I saw him, I was like, oh, perfect casting. I think his last name is Lee. I was like, he already talked us through, right, how it would have gone down. So I distinctly remember him saying that after she fell the second time and she hits her head again, there's the coughing up of the blood, and that's how you get that blood splatter on these two parts of the walls. And then she sits up, or, she tries to get up and slips and ends up lying in the position and dying in the position in which she's found, right?
Right.
So he told us that, but then they show it to us.
Yeah, the coughing, I was like, when he was doing it, and the coughing everywhere, I was like, well, why is he doing that? But then when you see her doing it and like splattering everywhere, you're like, that's how the splatters got there, and not him just like beating the shit out of her.
Right. So they ask, now this is the defense around the table after it's done. After, again, the reenactment, what we just seen. They're like, the brother Bill is at the table, and I think Michael has already left the room, right? For whatever reason. And the brother Bill asks, but what about the scratches? And what about the broken, and he talks about a bone, like in your neck area.
Yeah.
That the Dr. Lee has to be like, he tells him exactly what it's called, I forgot.
It's a thyroid cartilage.
Ew.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I was just, hers was broken, apparently. He goes, what about those things? And he goes, we ain't explaining those. He goes, because ain't no way she got those from falling down the stairs.
Right.
So,
I just, here's the thing. I understand with the current system that we have, our democracy, our judicial system, the idea behind everyone being entitled to a defense.
Right.
And so I agree. But it's so wild to me, that you can then sit there in that room and be like, just there on the table. That's, to me, that's all of you saying, oh, he did this.
Right.
Right.
Right, because if we can come up with, if we got to check 4 boxes to get him off, but more importantly, for us to be like, he didn't do this, but we're only checking 3 and we're going to act like that 4th one ain't there. No, what are we doing?
Right.
Right? Am I crazy? That says to me that what they're telling me, the show is trying to say, is that they have to know he did this.
Right.
Right. And how there is, that guy at least believes that he did it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly, because at least nobody else, like no one else in the room, like everybody else was like, "Oh, look at the time."
Right.
Right.
And then how do you leave that room and continue believing him?
Exactly, and then how does that not affect your defense? Because to
Yeah.
me, then you are required, you are entitled to a defense, but like, how vigorous are we getting with somebody who, you know,
Yep.
Well,
like, yeah,
yeah. I mean, that's why he's paying, what, $500,000 for this guy. Like,
yeah.
$500,000 worth of vigorous.
The documentary begins. Michael is stiff as hell. He's also really difficult. I was like, God, yeah, I remember this. He's such a dick. Like, he's
Right.
just, yeah.
They're like, just walk down that way. And he's like, keeps
Yeah.
walking back up, like, well, and he's like, keep walking. Like, what? Like, I didn't say come back.
Caitlin's with her aunties, and that's when all of a sudden she's like, listen, I remember in the documentary the blowpoke being like, it was like plot twist. It was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Here it just looks real silly to have her suddenly sit up and be like, and then take, what is it, a pillow. And what does the pillow say? The pillow says
It was
something
something
about
mother or something. Oh,
yeah.
shit, I forget. It was something about mother, though.
It was so on the nose, and I don't know. And have her start beating the shit out of it, and it's like, you're scaring us. And she's like, the son of a bitch did it. I was like, oh man. If this is truly how that occurred, I'm so annoyed that I was so invested in the blowpoke theory.
Well, you could never be as invested in the blowpoke as this chick who, was obsessed with blowpokes and gave them to all of her family members and then turned around and was like, of course it was my blowpoke.
And the blowpoke's missing. Where is it?
And when they come looking for it, he's like, who does that? Who gives a single fireplace? And then Bill's like, well, it's useful.
I wanted a blowpoke.
Oh my God. So now we're in March 2002. So she's been dead. It's 3 months later while all this is going on. And Martha's at school. This is where we discover we learned that she's gay. I was like, yay. But also, is this true? Are y'all just, but I would imagine, I think this is real. And they depose Brad, or interview, I should say, Brad Welgamont. Is that how you say his name? And so he's basically somebody that was sexting with Michael for a while, but they never.
His ass pounded. Sorry. Oh wait, no, he wasn't. They just wrote about it.
And Fred was like, "You expect me to believe? You never got your ass pounded." I was born yesterday. Man, what's rimming?
Do you really like that?
So then they go on basically, but he insists like they never, ever, ever, ever met. So basically then they go on a gay witch hunt this time. This time they are shaking down all the gays in town, and they come across Dennis Rowe. And then it is confirmed what we knew when we saw him at the fundraiser, right? He says they fucked. Now listen, when I tell you this scene right here cracked me the fuck up. So the whole fucking defense team is at the house. Patty's now here from Germany for whatever reason. Bill is there. They're all sitting around, and the lawyer, Rudolph, I'm just going to call him Rudolph. Rudolph is like, who the fuck is Dennis Rowe? He says he knows you. And he's like, some guy, he's trying to describe him. He goes, he has a limp. Michael was so, like, offended. He was like, oh, a limp. As if I would ever. Like, he's so gross. I hate him. But anyway, so.
He got real ableist real quick.
Yeah,
I
wouldn't sleep with a guy. I wouldn't fuck a guy with
Oh,
I
he
wouldn't
was
pound that ass.
real quick. He was so quick, didn't care who was in the room. So he goes into the kitchen and he comes out, and Patty says, you know, in all of Michael's dalliances with men and women, I never ended up at the bottom of a staircase. And fucking Martha's like, Patty.
What?
And so Michael goes,
Scene
ladies
stealer.
and gentlemen, my ex-wife. And then he's like, I'm going to go, like something, something. He goes to leave the room. When he leaves the room, look at Jean's face, the documentarian, the black guy. Look at his face. His face looks like these fucking white people. That whole fucking scene. Oh, God. Please go back and watch the look on his
That
face.
actress who plays Patty, she's like one of these. She was in like a lot of stuff
Oh yeah.
in the 80s. Like what was the one with Justine Bateman?
I feel like I recognize her
Satisfaction.
name. Hold on.
Yeah, I mean, she
Julia-
was kind of an
Julia-
it girl at the time.
Yeah, she was in like after school specials.
Mhm.
Is that the movie I'm thinking of? Is it Julia Roberts is in that too? Satisfaction with the girl band.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that's right.
I think she was in the Winona Ryder Little Women version.
on.
She was
Let
one of
me-
the sisters.
Let me look her. You know,
She was
I
in a lot of
remember
shit.
scrolling through when I was writing down the cast name earlier. I remember Trini Alvarado.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was in like after school specials and yeah. That was one of the, I don't know. I have that weird thing where there's some people I can go, oh yeah, they were in that thing in 1987.
Yeah, I know. It makes
Yeah.
sense. Okay, I'm sorry. I went out of my notes app to look at that. Okay, so Patty ain't helping. The look on John's face was hilarious. Then Michael is such a shit to his brother. Bill is like, I want to go home and see my family for a couple of weeks. Michael's like, who's going to take care of me?
It is all about me.
Oh, he literally said it. I was like, oh my God, he's at the quiet part out loud like 3 times. Oh God. But like poor Bill, you could just see he's used to this.
Yeah.
Ugh. So Dennis meets with the DA and he tells them, he goes, you better call Tyrone. But then, right, when he sees the way the DA winks at Freda, the way they look at each other, I feel like he was like, these straight people can make me sick. He was like, I will not be exploited. And then instead of writing down, like, he was like, write down all the other men that he may have had sex with.
Right.
He wrote down instead all the other men, like married men, that he has had sex with, that Dennis has had sex with.
Right.
He's like, and some of them are your friends. Like, don't play me. Don't try to use me.
Right.
And even though I do believe Michael is a murderer, I'm glad that he didn't let them bully him like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point was very valid. If you bring that point up and you bring up who that guy is, then they are going to ask, well, who else have you slept with?
Right.
In order to not only, like, I mean, this is North Carolina and they're, they want in these people's business and they want to blow that whole community up and they want, and so it was definitely gonna bring down the house, and that was certainly something that he thought of that the DA did not think of.
Right.
And the DA's like, okay, let's think about this.
Right.
But then Tyrone calls Dennis and he's like, you motherfucker, you gave them my name.
It throws me so much that this guy's name is Tyrone.
I
He does
know.
not look like a Tyrone.
Because when he was like, you better call Tyrone, I was like, no fucking way. I do not remember this many Negroes in that documentary. I was like, what is happening? Another black man? But then it was just like a white guy. And I was like, oh, damn it. All right. We're still in March 2002. Margaret comes home. It's so weird seeing Sansa in jeans.
Yes.
He manipulates these girls into appearing on television
Yeah.
to counter Caitlyn, the narrative that Kathleen's family is putting out. He manipulates them into going onto TV, and Rudolph tells Martha she has to dye her hair.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Didn't she had the blue hair in the documentary, didn't she? Is she the one with...
Oh my God, that's right.
Right.
Yeah.
It just popped in my, like, I just got the visual
Yeah.
of the blue hair.
This casting
she's a
is
lesbian.
so
No, I'm just kidding.
good. That's why he told her to dye her hair. You know that, right? He was like,
Yeah.
that looks a little too gay. I need you to dye your hair.
Oh, God. Okay.
So I like the scene between the two documentarians in the cafe where the white guy is like, he did it.
Right.
He was like, and he brought up a good point where it was like, you come in and you see your wife covered in blood and you call 911 and you say, my wife has had an accident. Accident? I was like, that's a really good point.
Yeah. You would describe what you saw. You wouldn't say she's had an accident.
I would just be like, I found her at the, she's covered in blood. I don't, just please get here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
I see that much blood. I'm absolutely thinking more an attack or something than she fell down the stairs.
Right.
Again,
and these guys were into, true crime documentaries. So they've certainly seen their share of.
True. Yeah. So I really like this scene. And I like that they keep it in French.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that French is like the voice of reason in
Yes.
this show.
Right.
That's right.
Todd goes and does some booger sugar, which is very disappointing to Michael.
He was making me nervous.
I know.
Yeah.
I was like, when they went in that bathroom stall, I was like, is everybody gay? Like, what did I miss?
All these people are
I
gay.
was like, what is happening? I am such a prude. I was like, I did not even one guy bent down. I was like, what is happening? I was like, oh, okay.
I don't remember all this gayness.
Right?
Right. Oh, they're not gay. They're just cokeheads.
Now, I feel like this is something that fucked him, though, or at least to me, this is the way this show is presenting it. Him insisting or manipulating those girls into going onto TV is what gets Blair to call Freda.
Right.
Right. So Blair is the sister of Eminem's biological mother. And she apparently has always believed that her sister did not die of an aneurysm. And then falling down the flight of stairs that Michael killed her. So seeing her nieces who won't even take her call. See, this is why you should have at least just talked to her.
Mm-hmm.
Because all she wants is to get into your ear. So even if you think, you know what I mean? But I feel like she saw them on TV and was like, fuck this. I can't keep her quiet. Jesus told me I need to.
Oh my God.
So, And then this is where they touch on Freda and her drinking. So in real life, Freda Black passed away from liver failure.
Oh.
And she died, I think, in 2018. Liver failure due to severe alcohol damage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So them showing her drinking here in the office, I was like, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
This feels like, I mean, I get it because she, but it's like, I don't know. I'm just a stickler. Like, I'm like, did they have proof that this is something that she did, or are they just
Right.
again
Was
being
it well known that she was drunk all the
right,
time?
right,
Because if so, she wouldn't just have one little nip bottle in the drawer.
right. So I don't know, but again, if you know where this, in real life, where this woman's story ended, then yeah, you can see where this is going. I love the Rudolph is like, you found another woman at the bottom of the stairs. I was so mad.
Something you should have told me.
Right. You did a trial run 20 years ago and neglected to mention that?
So, Martha starts to have doubts, and then the guy from the SBI suddenly is like, the crime scene and the weapon is confirmed. We have figured it out. We have found a way to make this shit work. And so when they're like, okay, great, get me the report, and they feel confident going to trial, Hardin starts telling Freda a story about his siblings who died in a house fire. And I thought on everything I have, that woman was going to fall asleep. I thought Freda ass was drunk, and I thought, did this really happen? You go back and watch that scene. Look at the way Parker Posey played that.
Yeah.
I was like, she's going to fall asleep talking. This man's pouring his heart out, talking about his dead siblings, and she's, no. I don't remember his story. I feel like there's some dirt on him, too. I gotta look him up.
He killed his siblings.
I love the fact that
I just made that up. Don't sue me. Yeah.
I love the fact that I was just thinking to myself, he might have gone too far. And then Sarah was like, nope, not far enough. So now they skip forward. Wait, he manipulates them into doing something else too. Why don't I didn't finish my sentence. Mike manipulates Eminem into... There was something else before the trial started.
Oh,
yeah, they were supposed to give a statement.
They wrote the letter. They agreed to the exhuming of their mother's body.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Because she's reading the letter, and I remember thinking, wow, like the wording and all of this, and it felt like the way the shot was framed, it was Margaret just, editing with Martha.
Right.
And then I was surprised that when you get to the part where it's like, we agree, we consent, whatever, and the camera pulls back and you see that he was like, thank you, girls. And it's like, holy shit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was surprised that he allowed them to consent to it.
Is it ego?
I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
It must
he's like,
be.
they're not going to find anything.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's that narcissistic, and I forget the word I'm looking for, but they don't believe they're gonna get caught. Everyone's too stupid to catch them.
Exactly, I think. And by the way, that's the end of it. It then ends with the trial beginning, right? It jumps forward to July 2003, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm checking for feedback. Anything that I missed? I feel like
I thought it was interesting when he kind of sent everybody back to their lives, but then he's telling everybody to go what's your face, go ahead and move out with your girlfriend, and girls go back to college, and then he's like, Todd, you're the man of the house, handle everything for me.
Yes.
Like,
what are you,
okay.
It's like, what are you gonna do?
I did this is one of those things, Nina, you don't know if it really happened, but I thought dramatically it was good TV when the two factions kind of faced off on the elevator when the elevator door opened.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I forgot.
I was like, ooh, that's intense.
The way that was the way they edited that, the cuts in that was it was super intense. Oh.
The with Patty, when she piped up about his, various affairs and how she was just like,
Dalliances.
right, her, and how she knew and how like it never bothered her and,
Yeah.
whatever, and
She's
how
a
he didn't
pick-me.
have a relationship with Liz. They were just friends and whatever. And like the way, just her like kind of bubble-headed voice and how like blasé she was about everything. I was like, instantly, I was like, oh, well, that's how you lived to be the ex-wife, and these other two didn't live. Because
Exactly.
you're willing to, like, literally create a whole other world where everything that Michael does is okay with you.
Yeah.
Right.
And, and continuing to do so. He practically brings her in as a fixer,
Right.
You know what? Hold on a second. Maybe I'm like, no, because I hadn't taken an edible in, I don't think. Who wasn't there? Oh, you know what? I think, yeah, that's what it was. I got confused because I don't think either I was looking down or the camera wasn't on him when he said it. So I thought the wrong person said it. When Patty arrives, they find her standing outside, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
She's just standing there. Okay, because when they were like, who is that? And someone said, that's my mother. I remember thinking, okay, here's the thing. I remember thinking, that woman does not look old enough to be Colin Firth's mother.
That's what I thought too.
So wait. So
Said.
when you
Yes.
guys were saying who the actress was, and remember I said, I saw her name. The reason I remember seeing her name is because I remember looking up Patty and looking at the actress thinking, why
How
would
old is
they
she?
cast her to be Colin Firth's mother? So even later, when I realized that Patty was their mother, his first
boy's
wife,
mother.
yeah, the boy's mother, my brain didn't even correct my mistake. I just went with it. Oh my God.
Right.
Sarah thought the same thing I thought. Good. I was like, how? How is that his mother?
Right. Then when I figured it, I was like, oh, well, he must have just been cracking a joke, but obviously I didn't see who said it.
Who said it? Yeah.
His
But
English
you see how-
accent slips through. He's like, hello, Mom.
But you see how accommodating she is, right? Like
Yeah.
she just stood outside. Y'all look busy, so I just
Standing in the
stood here.
lawn.
Yes.
I didn't want to bother anyone.
She didn't ring the doorbell, nothing. She just stayed outside. It's like, Jesus, Patty. Oh my gosh.
There's so many shows with like British or Australian people in them now playing Americans.
Oh, the one of the daughters is Australian, and of course,
Yes, Martha is Australian.
right.
And Colin Firth and
Yeah.
Toni Collette is Australian.
Oh, that's right. She sure is. I totally forgot that. I forget. She's so good. Like,
She is.
Yeah.
I
like
forget
her
that
a
she's
lot.
Toni Collette,
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I don't remember if I said this in the beginning, but I was one of those people that, again, I felt like I know this story. I'm just more like, I'm more looking forward to like chatting with the girls or whatever. And again, I didn't think we had covered the documentary, or at least hadn't finished. So I figured this would be good to, kind of finish that. But when I saw the little photos I looked at the cast. I was like, eh. But then once I watched it, again, watching them talk, and like it all came back to me, and I was like, oh my God, the casting person deserves an Emmy. Like, this is really good.
Yes.
And of course,
Looking
the
at
actors.
the photos
Yeah.
now of the people, like even,
Yeah.
I mean, Sansa, her counterpart is kind of a redheadish person.
Yep.
And Martha matches, the younger mousy sister.
Yep.
And,
I thought hers was particularly good.
yes.
The cast.
Yeah.
I thought. But yeah, sometimes Parker Posey makes these faces that are so Freda Black. It's like,
Yeah.
wow. She's doing
funny.
great. And of course,
When she showed the sisters that the crime scene photos, that's the most Freda scene that killed
Yes.
me.
Yes.
Yeah, she was
Yeah.
like, now these are graphic. And you can say, Freda, no, I don't want to see these. No, thank you very much. No. And, you're like, why would you soup that whole thing up there? Like,
Yeah.
it's so funny. And then, of course, they're like, well, show us the photos, obviously.
Right?
Right.
Oh my god. There was some. Oh, and I feel like the sisters. Like, I feel bad again because I know they're real people, but like, look, real people have personality. Okay, they have real personalities, and let's just say I feel like those who is it? Annabeth Gish and is that Annabeth Gish? Wait, no, wait. Maybe I have the names wrong. The two sisters, Kathleen's sisters. Let's see.
Oh yeah, who was playing the sisters?
Oh,
'Cause
Rosemary DeWitt is.
the blonde one looked really familiar.
Yeah, that's the one that I.
Candy.
Rosemary DeWitt is Candace.
Rosemary DeWitt. I don't recognize that name. Was she on 90210?
Shut up.
That's my.
I don't even know why I'm here. Why didn't I just go to IMDb? I'm such an idiot.
She's married. Oh, she was married to Ron Livingston. I'm looking her up right now.
Was she? I didn't know that.
She was in Mad Men.
T. Yes.
She was in.
Uh-huh. But the other one is the one that I.
She was in Nina's favorite movie, La La Land, too.
Yeah, I saw that earlier. Shut up. Oh my god, maybe I'm too high to look up anything. I'll let you guys do it. I swear to God, did I just like skip by this woman? Who's the other sister?
Charlene?
Charlene, yeah, that was the other sister's name.
No,
So-
who's Lori? Wasn't there a Lori? Oh my god, am I
don't
totally
know.
high?
Are you high? How many? I don't
Lori
know.
Campbell?
Yes, that's it. Lori Campbell's the other one. That's the other sister. The one with the glasses.
Yeah. what
The
was
one
she in?
who's, I think she's the one who Caitlin had her head in her lap when the
Yeah.
other sister jumped up and was like, that sister. That I've seen her in some stuff.
She's
Oh,
been in Orange is the New Black and stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, and the other one, Candy Blowpoke sister, was also in the United States of Tara, which
Okay,
Toni
okay.
Collette was in also.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Oh, yeah, I remember that.
I was
Yeah, so the trial begins. I feel like I'm looking forward to them revisiting the Germany stuff because I'm super fuzzy on that.
yeah.
Like super, super, super fuzzy on that. Like
Yeah.
when he was like telling, like, okay, first of all though, why did he have, what was their mother's name? Rita, I think. Why did he have her autopsy file in his desk
Yeah. Yeah. It's like he needed to have it,
Yeah.
just in
Yeah.
case somebody ever asked.
Like, why was that? You know what I mean? Like when he was like telling the story of like what happened to her and he's like rustling around in the desk, I'm like, what the fuck is he looking for?
Right.
And then he finds the file and he's like, here, Rita's autopsy report. I'm like, why do you have that?
Right.
Like, I get that you became their guardian, but why do you have that?
In your desk.
Yeah,
Just in
why
case.
is that something you would have, right? Does that
Like
make
so
sense?
accessible. Like it wasn't just tucked away like in a storage bin somewhere. It was like,
Right.
"Whoop, here it is in my desk."
It's so weird. So, yeah. I forgot how I don't even think eccentric. He's just weird. I forgot
Yeah.
how, he is. And I
Yeah.
think probably not as smart as he thinks he is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like that to me he's like super like narcissistic. Like he has all
Yes.
those he thinks he's the smartest one in
Yeah.
the room.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
All All right, so we will be back next week to talk about episode 4. So the podcast obviously won't go as long because even though I think we did pretty good for 3
For 3
episodes.
episodes, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
With we fit in all that backstory, right. But next week obviously won't go as long. We're going to talk about episode 4. I'm open to record whenever you ladies have time. So, it is what it is. You guys let me know, and I'll be available whenever you need me to be. You guys can get your feedback in. I will repost it in the group in case you guys missed it, and I will tweet it out. It is posted on Patreon, but it's open to the public. So anyone can go and leave feedback. So if you get caught up and you're watching along with us and you want to talk about the show, you can do so, and I will read it on the podcast going forward. Okay, that's it. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right.
Good night.